If you look at the window sticker for the ZR2, it shows the fuel economy to be 22 on the highway and 20 on the city for the 3-liter Duramax. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Hopefully you guys can see it. So 22 on the highway, 20 in the city, 21 combined. If you're looking at a regular Chevy Silverado with the Duramax, it shows 27 on the highway. Hopefully you guys can see it. 23 in the city and a 24 combined. In this video, we're gonna drive these trucks back to back on the same route to see if there's really a difference. I can't believe that having slightly larger tires in the lift and no valance below would change the fuel economy. But I've been wrong before, so let's see if that's the case. Let's go ahead and drive the ZR2 first, and we'll drive this one right afterwards. And be sure to check out Jerry Seiner Chevrolet's inventory. These two trucks in the video are available for sale. So like I said, we're gonna drive the ZR2 first. I'll reset the trip monitor just before we do the 0 to 60 run. That way you have a little bit of hard acceleration in there. And one thing you'll notice if you are kind of shopping these trucks, the ZR2 does sit higher, like noticeably higher. It's not even a guessing game. Like you can clearly see it next to the other trucks that this sits a little bit higher. Now the Trail Boss has the same height, so you're not gonna see a noticeable difference with that truck. But let's go ahead and talk about the power plant on this one, and then we'll go ahead and do that sprint to 60. Now if you're not familiar, the Duramax diesel is gonna have 305 horsepower and 495 pound-feet of torque. 10-speed transmission, 323 rear. Let's go ahead and see how this ZR2 does for 0 to 60. Here we go.
$30. $60. Quarter mile.
That was pretty good. This truck is a torque monster, so when you heard me just now, it was skirting the tires because that torque comes on really strong. But for the most part, you know, hey, these trucks are not meant for speed, and that's not why you buy this engine. You buy it for fuel economy. So if you do tow a trailer, I mean, this truck would be great for that too, because for long distances you're going to get slightly better fuel economy compared to the gas counterpart, especially the 6.2. Also, the 6.2 uses premium fuel, so that's another reason why I probably would choose the diesel over that one. For 2024, they did add the sport exhaust for it, and it does sound good. I gotta admit, I love the way it sounds. And who knows, maybe I'll do a drive video for one of those if I have a chance. Let's go ahead and check out the RPMs, because this is another reason why you buy the diesel. Running at 75 miles an hour, you can tell that this truck has a raised ride height because it does feel a little bit more clumsy. I was going about 75, but a car jumped in front of me. This does have the radar cruise control, so I'm gonna go ahead and jump over so I can continue my drive here. I think I'm hearing some turbo sounds inside the interior too. So yeah, here we go again. It's showing that it's in sport mode. Let me go ahead and take that out too. We'll just put it in normal mode. But yeah, we're just over 1500 RPMs, probably about 1600 RPM. And we're about 17.5 MPG. I like the way this truck rides. It has like 33.5-inch tires, so not quite a 34. And they do not offer a 35 for the AEV package either, which is kind of strange. I thought that for the AEV Bison, for the price point that they asked for, they would offer at least a 35-inch tire. Now obviously we have to check out the interior noise, so let's go ahead and check that out now. $67, $68, $70 on the window, 66 out back. So these tires don't really sound that loud. They seem like they're a little bit quieter than my AT4X that I have. I have a 2500, and those are 35s. And normally the taller the tire goes, they do kind of ride better. But this definitely, without even thinking about it, this rides so much better. than my 3/4 ton AT4X. Now, the suspension out back, they do provide 5 leads in that main pack, and that's probably how they're getting some of that lift too. But this truck does ride really well. It's a windy day, by the way, too, so you have to keep that into your mind when we do the numbers for the fuel economy. So probably about 20-mile-an-hour winds today, because I can feel the wind blowing the truck. That's another issue with these lifted trucks, is when you do live in areas that have high winds, a lifted truck does perform poorly because of that. Let's go ahead and switch cameras. We're at the midpoint so you guys can see where we are for fuel economy. So here we are, exit 11, and we're coasting now, so it's going to continue to go up, but we were able to get to 20 MPG. So with the wind, I'm pretty sure that's going to affect the fuel economy, because it is a headwind. Now going back the opposite direction, we should have a tailwind, so it could get a little bit better. So we'll see how it all shakes out. But we have to come to a stop, and then we have to go back the opposite direction, and then we have to stop like 2 or 3 more times. So I would say this is probably still 60% highway, because we're at a consistent speed for most of the miles that you see here. So 7 miles right now, and we'll probably end off around like 14.6 to 15 miles driven. So the numbers are going to be a little different for the ZR2. They do increase the gross vehicle weight rating by 100 pounds compared to the other Silverados when you get the diesel. And the gross axle weight rating is a little different at 3950, so it's 150 pounds higher compared to the other ones with the diesel. And then here are the numbers for the curb weight and then towing. So this truck is going to be heavier, so just keep this number in mind when I show you guys the other one. Even going back the opposite direction, we do still have a headwind. And I have the instant fuel economy on, so it's kind of been hanging out around 20 to 22. So I'm willing to bet you if I didn't have this headwind today, I probably would have been closer to like the 23, 24. But you're definitely going to get a decrease for the fuel economy. But yeah, the wind is pretty high today, guys, and like I can actually feel it pushing the truck, and because it sits a little bit higher, it almost kind of turns the steering wheel too because of the wind. So that's just to give you an example of just how windy it is. But we should be back in about 5 minutes, and then we'll jump into the other truck and see how it does compared to this one. We just pulled back into the dealership, and I edged over 23 MPG for about a second or two until I had to go again. But we finished off at 22.9, 15.3 miles driven, average about 55 miles an hour. This is my truck, so I'll figure I'll stop right here and then we'll jump into the other one. We're driving the regular Silverado. I believe this is an RST package one too. The very first thing I noticed, these seats are cloth ones unfortunately, but the seats in the ZR2 are softer, 100%. It's really in the lower back part is where I can tell it's a little, you know, hard. It's like a little bar right there. So I guess what you have to do is push out the lumbar support so that way you can kind of avoid it. But once you push out the lumbar, the seats are still stiff, but the ZR2 is definitely comfortable. Let's go ahead and talk about the exact same powertrain. There's nothing different, and then we'll go ahead and do the 0 to 60. 305 horsepower, 495 pound-feet of torque, 10-speed transmission, 323 rear. Let's see how it performs for 0 to 60. Here we go.
30. 60. 1/4 mile.
So that slightly heavier ZR2 does make an impact on the acceleration, which is not a surprise. I mean, even the tires are probably gonna make an impact on how the truck launched too. So yeah, it's not much off, but it's definitely a little bit slower compared to the ZR2. And yeah, this truck is a lot more comfortable. I mean, this truck has 20-inch wheels on it, 275 tire versus the 18s on that ZR2. And you know, this truck sits a little bit lower. It has the lower balance there on the front end. So this truck is definitely going to get the fuel economy. So I did reset the trip meter here, so we'll kind of see what it does. I don't really need to show you the RPMs because, I mean, the tires are about the same. But I can call out to you. So let me just go ahead and get up to 75, and I'll set the cruise control there. Yeah, we're at the same spot. I mean, it's a little bit over 1,500 RPMs. And if with this truck sitting a little bit lower, you can clearly tell that it just tracks better going down the road. And I don't know, you can probably hear the wind, and I can see leaves blowing around. I can see the trees moving. So with this truck sitting a little bit lower, the air just kind of goes right. The air kind of goes right above the truck, which is what you want, versus under it, which kind of makes it feel light. So the steering on this one feels a little bit better. But this is probably the clear winner, because if you don't really need an off-road truck, this is going to get you the better fuel economy. It's going to get you better payload capacity, all that good stuff. And it's definitely more comfortable too, for sure. Like, just, I feel like I don't have to have both hands on the steering wheel. The ZR2, I really did have to have 2 hands on the steering wheel, because I felt like it was kind of, you know, top heavy, because it kind of is. Now, that ZR2 had the DSS feed, and I didn't want to talk about it until I got back into this truck. The DSS feed does kind of maybe make a difference. I feel like it dampens better on road. Because like with this truck, I kind of feel more in the road versus that DSS feed. You don't really feel as much. But with this one, has 20-inch wheels compared to the 18, so it could be that too. But I don't think that the DSS feed makes a huge difference on the road. That's just my opinion, obviously. But yeah, this truck sits a little bit lower, and I feel like it handles better. Like, I mean, it's not as top heavy as that ZR2, so you don't really feel the road as much. But we're about to get off here, and I'll show you guys where we are for the fuel economy. So if you don't get a ZR2, these are gonna be the numbers you see here. So 7,200 pound for gross fuel weight rating, and then 3,800 pound for the axle rating up front. Now this truck is 5,526 pounds. So this truck weighs 260 pounds less than the ZR2. And yeah, the towing numbers are gonna be a little bit better on this side too. So let's keep that in mind. All right, here we go. Exit 11. We are definitely higher for the fuel economy. So yeah, having that slightly taller truck does make a difference. So when people say that the trip computers don't really work well, I'm sorry, like, they work well. I mean, the only exception to this rule, as I've always said, is if you do a lot of stop and go traffic or idling, that's when these trip monitors don't really work that well. But for this type of testing, because I'm typically moving a good bit on these roads, I find that they're pretty accurate. So let's go ahead and head back the opposite direction, and let's talk about the transmission temperature. I was thinking that the transmissions were gonna run a little different between the two trucks, especially since the ZR2 does have a slightly higher ride height. But it looks like this one runs a little bit warmer. So the highest I saw the ZR2 today, I mean, outside temperature is 76 degrees. That truck maxed out at 183. This one, same powertrain, same rear ends, is at 185. So I guess some weird reason, it could be the 20s. I mean, these wheels and tires could be a little bit heavier. It's actually at 187 now, and like I said, the ZR2 only got up to 183. So just thought that might be something worth mentioning. But we should be back in a little bit. We are at $21.9. Interesting. We'll see how all this shakes out, because this one's doing a little bit worse at this point versus the ZR2. So here's my truck right there, and here's where we stopped at. 23.2, 15.1 miles, 51.3 miles per hour averaged. I'm not too surprised that the ZR2 didn't do that much worse compared to a regular Chevy Silverado. So if it was me buying a truck, if I was a few dollars off in terms of fuel costs, I would definitely go with the ZR2. And I'm willing to bet you can get over 25 MPG with that truck. Now, as far as comfort goes, I think both trucks perform extremely well. Half tons just have softer suspensions overall. And the performance numbers, as you guys can see, the trucks pretty much perform about the same. But having those more aggressive tires, they do hurt you on the launch, from what I've seen on the Ford trucks as well. But I do think that the ZR2 is a good buy if you're not too concerned about fuel economy. Now, it is a heavier truck, so city driving and a lot more stop and go is going to probably drop that fuel mileage, but I think I'm okay to live with that if I can get a more aggressive truck. But I hope you guys liked the video. Special shout out again to Jerry Seiner. If you are in the market These trucks were available when I did the testing, so just be sure to reach out to the guys at the store, and I'll see you guys soon.